Hello everyone. Okay, that's from my other screen because I was doing my own live stream 2 days ago. So yeah, sorry about that. Great start. Good morning. Welcome to the Euro Trade. I am looking at a couple of things here. I'm looking at a potential YM short. Maybe keeping an eye on copper as well, but copper is pretty thin. It's got those choppy areas on the dome, so I'm not too keen on trading whilst that's not populated. Now, before we get into it, I'm just gonna go into this attempted short on YM. So let's see if we can get a bit of a drop through the value area. I'll explain that. But if you're here for the first time, welcome. My name is Mark Stalker D. I am somebody who's been trading for 18 years. I've actually been with Topstep in some sort of capacity since 2015, so getting to like 10 years now. I was their first female funded trader, and now 10 years on, we have TopstepTV. So yeah, welcome. Let's see what we've got today. Why am I short YM here? I'm only going to do SIM because I'm looking for copper. That's like my main product recently, and it's just not looking thick enough for me. So I've gone into a SIM account to remove risk and to wait for more market participants to get involved. It is the summertime, so you have to be aware of these issues. Liquidity issues, I mean. All right, so bit of an interesting area here. So we're coming off the settlement from yesterday in YM. Typically what tends to happen for the London session is that they will take it sort of the wrong way before the New York session then takes it with the trend. Whether that's going to be true today, but you know, if we look at Asia, it ran it up, and one of my main strategies is to kind of fade whatever Asia has done, especially in equities. I do this in DAX as well. I have a setup called the Frankie Fakeout, and I tend to like the stop run and reverse type trades. We already had that early in the Eurex session. So that's when I would be typically doing the stop run and reverse. Now here they didn't, like YM is a little bit different than DAX during this time of the day. So they didn't even smash through the high, they immediately started reversing. So now I'm looking for a potential value acceptance special situation play here. We're already dipping below the initial balance. So as long as we stay below the initial balance, and as long as we go to close the next sort of 30-minute time frame confidently back inside value from yesterday for the London session, there's a pretty decent chance that it's going to rotate nicely. How far? I don't know, but I have a loose area of London average session range low, which is a quantitative extreme. So that's basically the projected expected movement based on the previous n number of days. I'm using 40 because we've had some outlier days, so I just want to smooth out that number. And now we just wait and see what happens. And then someday when we get DAX, we can look at DAX to do similar things. So yeah. Somebody's saying microphone is a bit on the lower side. It's just me being quiet in the morning. Well, let me see if I can do something about that. Might push it up a couple of decibels. Is that any better? Put up the sound by a little bit. Right, Parrish says, oh, he can't access anything, or they can't access anything. Everything's working on my end. I don't know, you know, are you trying to get to the new dashboard or something? Because I don't have that, so I wouldn't be able to provide any insight. But when it comes to the normal dashboard, normal website, and all of the Topstep X related sites, I mean, it's all working for me, so I don't know. Have you tried clearing cache? IT support D. Reporting for duty. Mirek is asking, are we going to get DAX and Euro stocks on Topstep? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine at this point. I don't know. I've been waiting for like a year. I can wait. You know, I'm a trader. I'm very patient. So I'm not in a rush. Like I said, I've been with Topstep through many iterations and changes over the last 10 years. So yeah, I'm willing to wait. I'll probably still be here 10 years from here. Hello. Still trading. Granny teeth. Alright, a little bit of a push there. Wake up AI. D, I need help. I shorted HG by mistake. Is it any good? Look, don't be an accidental trader. There is an argument here that we have the value low, but if you never meant to short it, I would just kill that trade and reset. You know, don't be an accidental trader. You don't want that, because if it goes really wrong, then you're going to be really annoyed that you didn't close it. And then if you do win, you're going to teach your brain that it's okay to do accidental trades and stay in them. And trust me, that goes very wrong over long periods of time when you're like, yeah, I just, you know, entered a trade accidentally. It worked. Oh, I'm the wizard. And then very soon after that, you try that again. It's like, oh, I'm not the wizard. Oh, okay. So yeah, just close it, reevaluate, follow your plan. You know, follow your plan. Don't be doing accidental trades and trying to hold them. And the only reason why you would ask that, because I can imagine you maybe entered with a slightly larger position, because if you didn't, you know, if you didn't, then you wouldn't care, because it's a small loss, right? Or a small win. And actually, I was messing around looking at the yen chart because we had some, what do you call it? Releases, speeches. The Bank of Japan was like talking. So I was like, oh, let me have a look at that. And then I went to go short on YM, but I changed my dome to the yen dome. And then I clicked and I was like, oh no. So I closed it pretty much immediately as soon as I noticed that's where minus 53 came from. So yeah. All right. At Maram says, hi D, with the crypto boom, have you considered trading Ether? No, I think that all of the crypto stuff, so look, I had crypto positions in 2017 as a longer term position, and I went into Bitcoin when it was like 4,500, and then it went up to 20,000 sort of just before COVID. I held it for 3 years, and I thought to myself, that's a great trade. I didn't know that COVID's going to hit. I didn't know all the stuff that's going to happen. So naturally, I considered that a good trade, and I still do. Ever since then, I do not feel like crypto is something that I want to get involved in. The older I get, the more careful I am where I put my money. And I just don't think that crypto, with all of the blockchain and stuff, I don't think it's secure enough. I really don't. I don't think that hiding behind a non-centralized exchange, and I know that we have Bitcoin futures, but they are, to me, if you look at what they do to it, it's just so odd. And micro ether is like one of the oddest products. I don't even know whether I can have that here, but let's see. I have full dome on my other platform, and they are like, first of all, again, we have those gaps, right? Even if I had all of this populated, you will see that in between the spread, the bid and the ask, there's still holes. I really don't like that. Every time I see that, I'm like, ugh. But everybody says, oh, it moves. Yeah, it moves, but it moves in such a crazy amount that like 10-15% on the day is nothing. And to me, that's kind of like penny stocks. I just can't get over the fact that we've seen this before. You know, we've seen people get super successful on new asset classes, and then also seeing people lose everything because the asset classes are a bit weird. I also really dislike the fact that there are only a few whales in crypto that are completely able to manipulate price. Do you like that? Do you like the fact that one person has so much power over where a particular coin is going to get to? Because I don't. I hate manipulated products. I trade things that are not particularly speculative and that are mainly there because producers and users have to either buy or sell or hedge a particular commodity. And with crypto, everybody's like, oh yeah, crypto, yeah, but what happens if the internet goes out? Like, what happens to all these crypto coins? What happens if we truly end up in some sort of a, you know, third world war situation, Mad Max situation? What's going to happen to all your crypto? Like, man, I would rather have silver or gold at that point, you know? If you're a fan of Fallout, the game, bottle caps. That's the currency, right? You can trade anything, but it has to be physical. So I don't know. I'm just an old person at this point, and to me, crypto is for the youngsters who don't mind having their money taken away from them in some weird event. I've seen it happen twice. One time with Forex, where we had the Swiss franc taking out the pegged floor back in January 2015, and literally like half the Forex brokerages went bust. Why? Because they were really lax with their risk management, because they thought they were untouchable. It's like, we don't need to do market neutral strategies because our clients always lose. Why? Because we manipulate spreads. And you know, I've seen that happen. We've seen the boom and bust of crypto exchanges and how much fraud there is. So personally, I'm just very risk averse when it comes to that. And to me, crypto is just, I don't know, it's just a whole bunch of mess that to me doesn't make much sense. Granny D over here. I will be 45 in December, just to make that note. I know I look like a kid. I know. And everybody thinks, oh, D is like one of us, you know. She's like 27, 29, maybe 30. No, D is old and feeling it. I don't look it, but I definitely feel it. So crypto and me, no. Just look at me as a middle-aged woman who is computer literate and a bit of a geek, but, you know, generally I'm just like, crypto is for the Gen Z, whatever you call it, generation. Tom T3 Metro says micro ETH isn't worth trading. Yeah, you know, it's so tidy. It's like you would make what, like $7 on it. Like, why do they even have micro ether? I don't know. Is that what Delash was trading? Is that what was going on there? Like, the dude actually had like 1 million ticks that he made, but he was only like $7, $9, $3. Paul H, I had a coffee. I think I need another one, but I didn't make one before the video, so before the stream started, so I'm stuck with just water. And maybe if I can sneak in a little bit of vape, that'll keep me going. I need like so much coffee to actually wake up in the morning. It's not even funny. I used to be a musician, so I did like a lot of night shifts. So this whole thing of like doing the mornings, I've gotten better as I got older, but it's still not like a natural thing. Definitely. Jamie Garcia says, your session boring as... I agree. You know, if we don't have DAX, everything's super slow. This is why I wanted to bring DAX to Topstep, because, you know, DAX moves, Eurostocks move, Bund moves. Everything else is like super slow. Doesn't have to necessarily be a bad thing, but I find that, especially during times of lower volatility, you have a lot of fake out moves. So, you know, you think something's breaking out and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And then it just completely turns around and it just, you know, main session comes. This is why I've locked up my main account to only trade it for the main session. So I will only be trading after 3:30 p.m. my time. That's after 9:30 a.m. Central. For that very reason, you know, I've noticed that recently those directional moves that we were getting in copper pretty early during the London session, they're just not there yet. It breaks out, then it sort of doesn't do anything, and then it completely reverses. So maybe that's something to look at during the summer. And also, the directional moves during COMEX are not there either. Now, there is a reason for that. We are in a bracketing market, so if we go up to the daily chart, you can even kind of see it on the daily chart. Not as well. What is this? Not as well as you can see it on like the value areas. But let me see if I can illustrate. And I'm going to use COMEX for this because COMEX seems to have more movement. But look how range bound this is on the 4-hour chart. And then if I highlight the value areas, and this is like gone on for a while now. Oh, my producer, is it? Apparently my butler bought me my coffee, so yes, thank you. Oh man, that's great. That's what you need. Yes. And butler meaning husband, right? He's great. I love my hubby. All right. So here are the overlapping values, right? Overlap, 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 overlap. And then if we try and go even further, you will see that that kind of continues. Another overlap, another overlap. So we literally have the market that's doing F all. Okay? Now, usually when you see that, at some point, you will get this liquidation move by this probability of, let's say, about 70%, especially if you look at the daily chart. So, and especially if you look at slightly longer time frames. And whenever I'm looking at a bracketing market, I want 3 days of overlapping values. And then I will, you know, obviously I will use the intraday levels to try and figure out what's going on. But for now, it's heavily range bound. So, you know, until that changes, until we see, let's say, the open below value and a follow through, that might indicate that the liquidating move has started. Until we get that, I just don't really want to trade a London, because London can be a little bit weird, especially during the summer. And you've seen, like, even YM not really doing much. To be fair, DAX isn't doing all that much yet either, but, you know, it's been quiet. It's been very quiet. So, you know, to remove risk to the accounts that matter, you want to focus on the time of the day when you do have commitment in any sort of direction. Whether it's like a mean reversion, that will do as well. I don't mind, you know, I love mean reversions. But if you're looking for trending directional moves during July, and I would also argue most of August and maybe even a couple of weeks of September, it's going to get weird. So, you know, you want to be careful. You know, there's times of the year where you really want to be risk averse, and, you know, you can still trade, but just go into accounts that don't matter to you. To me, I got nothing to do with the combines, because even if I pass one, I'm in a live account, it does nothing for me. I mean, you know, it stays there as a potential XFA, you know, for the future. If you take out too much money and you get, you know, into a negative on your live, yeah, that can happen. You know, just kind of as a backup. But, you know, combines to me mean nothing. It's like EBS. Stone says, you're a kid, I'll be 60 in December. Yeah, so will my husband. Just because you are even older, that doesn't mean that I am a kid, right? Because a woman at 45, if I didn't look this way, if I looked more like my age, people think that you're just old. So it's a combination of your perception. It's like, let me tell you a story. Like my grandmother, she lived to be like, I don't know, 89 or something. And she was hanging out with, at one point when she was about 75, she went on a vacation, met some Bulgarian lady who was like 67. And the Bulgarian lady was like, let's hang out, let's be friends and stuff. And my grandmother, I kid you not, she goes, I don't want to hang out with her. And my mom was like, yeah, but why? And she said, because she's old. So my grandmother had a bit of a different view that she's not old. Doesn't matter that she's like, almost like, she's like 75 or something. But yeah, 67 years of age for her in her head was old. It's all about perception, right? And by the same token, you have people who get to 40 and they think they're old as well. I don't think I'm particularly old, but I'm not exactly a spring chicken either. So yeah, it's all about perception. So yeah, let's see what copper wants to do later on. But yeah, not happy trading it for the London session. Because right now it's also reaching value low. And, it could go up. It's a range-bound market, right? So it could go up into value acceptance. But in that case, I will probably want to snipe it from somewhere lower. Like maybe at least 550. That seems to be an area that we keep rotating around. 550 to 555. Like we've been doing that for days. So yeah, if I want to do a long, I would want to see a pullback to ballpark initial balance high, which is around just sub 550, and then maybe to try and run a long up to the top of the range. So yeah, we'll see. It's yeah. ADDAP, add up P. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry if I'm butchering it. It says, I'm 25 and I feel old. I don't know, this generation is tiring. Yeah, I can kind of agree that the generation we have now is a little bit tiring. With the TikToks and we talked about it yesterday with Jerome actually, how a lot of young people nowadays they want everything today, yesterday. They want to learn no skills, but they want a lot of money, and they think that that's entirely possible for everybody. It's probably the fact that you have some influencers that seemingly don't have much skill, but actually if you look at some of the influencers, especially the slightly earlier ones, there's photography skills there's like even videography skills if they're running like a YouTube channel. So I wouldn't necessarily knock the skills that you would need to be an influencer. And I'm actually mortified every time people are opening like there's like everybody now thinks that the way you open new stuff is like, for example, you take a cup and you're like, I've got a new cup, and then they do this like ASMR thing. It's like I just want to like explode when I see that. Just stop it. Paul H says, my nan did the same, was always saying how her neighbors her age were too old to talk to. I guess she meant they were old in their minds, perhaps. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. My nan was like, until the very last day, she was of sound mind and not body, but sound mind. Yeah, she was still thinking that, I don't know, she's gonna live forever or something. It's she was a strong woman, you know. She lived through the Second World War. All right, and we're gonna test settlement this one. You see, there's no commitment to direction anywhere. It's just moving slightly and quickly, going nowhere. I'm just scanning through the charts to see whether there's anything going on anywhere. Again, crude oil kind of reaching VWAP, but even that is like so non-committal. Gold chopping with inside bars, and it's kind of going down, but it's like, I would say this, haphazardly going down. Why? Because it drops, then it pulls back 50%. Then it tries to drop, doesn't quite get there, but then the next candle sort of does it and then pulls back. When I see this sort of price action and you're looking for that directional trades, there's no really good way to run those stair-stepping trades comfortably. Like, you would need to maybe place your stop somewhere up. And again, we have a round number at 33.50. Any other? So yeah, I think it's gonna go down to at least 33.28, maybe 33.25. But I just don't like how inside Bari it looks. It's like, how much cash do you need? It's like, yeah, sure, you can run a micro, but there's also a matter of, is your stop loss size that you need going to jeopardize the actual range that we have for London, which is, by the way, only 227 ticks. Like, it's a decent range, it's not bad. But if you then suddenly need to use like 100 tick stop just to account for the potential profit, that only leaves you with statistically like 100 ticks left. And then you get into the problem where the price that you expect as a volatility move just doesn't have enough room to give you a proper risk reward. Or you can sort of go down to a very low time frame and try to maybe do a stop loss that is like located at 33.37 and just pray to God they don't whip it back up. I don't like to trade via prayers. I like to be in a spot where my trade, I can control the risk better. And even if it doesn't work out, I'm still more comfortable doing that than trying to chase. And for example, the YM trade to me looks better because we're below settlement, because we're sort of still hanging around the initial bounce zone, and because I can use like 45 tick stop, and yet I have about 300 ticks to play with. So, you know, getting 2R if we do get a committed move in either direction, 80 ticks, 100 ticks, not a big deal. But whenever I see gold needing like, just gold having like 100 ticks per 30-minute candle range, I'm always like, whoa, okay, I think I might skip that. Zen Trade says GC demand 33.40 to 33.20. I would actually go to 33.25 more than 33.40. Why? Because I have all of my statistical levels telling me there's more downside there, and also because there's a put support from the 0 DTE options from yesterday sitting at 33.25. So options levels can help you sort of zoom in. Unfortunately, YM doesn't have options levels. I kind of use a conversion from like ES, and then I think in mentor Q you get these like blind spots, but I actually prefer to convert the ES levels into YM on days when they're moving in the same direction, and then see if we can somehow put a contextual story together. But just FYI, I'm using like YM as a sort of replacement for DAX, because that is what I normally do in my own account. And yeah, typically DAX can move a lot better than YM. And if we're going to talk DAX, I mean, for any shorts, I would want to see it at 24,350. And for longs, above 350. And then maybe even an extension of the initial balance with some single prints left behind. And DAX is now looking more bearish than YM as well, so there is no real notable correlation between DAX, ES, and NQ at the moment. They're like sitting around like 0.2 factor, and really you want to see that at like 7 or 8, 0.7 or 8. We have a little supply on a 30-minute chart on YM, which is not getting tested. Danger that London value high now brings it all the way back up. All the others are kind of following, so maybe let's sit and wait. Let's flip. Let's see whether they're gonna accept initial balance or not, and then if they do, maybe there's more longs. But right now, I just don't want to have more risk on, and you know, there's no need for this to actually hit the full stop loss. So we save some money by getting out early and being objective with what we're seeing. So it's like, yeah, it's a retest of settlement. Then if it creates another rejection from there, we can maybe go in again. But I am going to change this to YM. Maybe get rid of this to make the screen a bit bigger. So we're gonna see what they want to decide. In the meantime, DAX is still like chilling. So yeah, DAX definitely looks weaker than most of the other products, equities wise. Admiral says, cryptocurrencies only work with FOMO, and living off FOMO can cause significant mental imbalances. I agree with that, yeah. I don't even feel the need to trade crypto, to be honest. As for mental imbalances, I don't suffer from those. I'm probably the most, you know how everybody nowadays is like, oh, I suffer from depression, oh, I suffer from ADHD, oh, I suffer from this, like everybody suffers from some bloody thing, and I'm like, what, really, like, is that the hip thing to do now, to have mental disorders? Because when I was young, you know, like, you say that you think that you're depressed, and they would be like, ah. So maybe different times. But yeah, I feel like I'm an extremely stable person that doesn't have... Like, look, there's one thing suffering from clinical depression, and there's another thing where your life experience is not deep enough and you're affected by everything. So therefore, everything is super amplified. But once you've gone through life, and once, you know, you kind of find out how bad things can really be, I don't know, your threshold for what should elicit an emotional reaction sort of tends to dull down and you become stronger as a result. Now, you know, maybe when I was a kid, when I was like 5 years old, I was very emotional. But, you know, nowadays at almost 45, I'm just like, I've never suffered from depression. I've never had anxiety. You know, I don't think I have any sort of an ADD or any sort of disorder. I might be a bit of a nerd, so, you know, I do get obsessed with things. So if there is a case for anything, I would probably be maybe a little bit on the spectrum, but a little bit, not enough to be diagnosed. But I do get obsessed with things. You know, I was a very highly skilled musician for many, many moons. And that comes with not being normal. You know, you can't have that much focus. Like, my sister is in the chat. She can tell you how annoying I was. Like, I would literally play the same phrase for 12 hours straight. No normal person does that, okay? You can't be normal and do that. It's something a little bit off. And she used to come into my room and she would be like, Deeyana, please change the tune. Please. I can't. I've listened like the entire weekend, 12 hours a day. Please. I've had enough. You nailed it, okay? You nailed it. You can play it. Just move on. And I'm like, but I still have this, that. Please. Please no. And then I brought that same sort of obsession into trading. But yeah, this whole new generation is like, oh yeah, I suffer from this. So, like, do you think it's cool to suffer from mental health illnesses? Like, I don't really get where that's come from. Or is the world just gone completely medically problematic and now everyone really does, which is a whole different problem, yeah, because that means that something's off either in the environment or in the food or I don't know, some external environmental factor that's causing all of these illnesses. You know, it's a big thing to talk about. All right, so I'm going to drop down to a 15-minute chart on YM. I'm still kind of thinking short here. This is like way too high up for longs for me, but I can't ignore that we are actually rejecting the value high, and the value is like pretty sizable. However, the initial bounce size is not. And the initial bounce size is on the smaller side. So I'm not happy running a failed auction because I have no profit margin. So in this case, I have to formulate a different hypo. Just kind of talking through what I'm seeing, because I need to have a good profit margin. I don't just get involved in trades for the sake of trades. We also have settlement here from yesterday, and yeah, I would just like to see slightly cleaner price action as well. Every time they come up, there's like some people who also want to short, and then yeah. So let's have a look at higher time frames. Actually, let's have a look at what's going on. Okay, so from the daily chart, we are about to hit, well, actually we've already hit it. There's a localized supply just here from the previous drop, and this is a drop-based drop. First drops is okay, so this was a good move. This one, the second sort of drop from the base might be a bit sketchy, so again we'd need to see a little bit more commitment. I would still be short here though. You know, maybe if we start ignoring this line at 44,454 and kind of pushing deeper into it, and again by then we would be extending the initial bounce to the opposite side. Perhaps that's a long, but again we do have an overhead supply that is not a good thing. How does the 4-hour chart look like? 4-hour chart, very consolidating. So again, not really, like some sort of price agreement has happened overnight. And they're like, well, this is as far as we're going to get to, and then nothing. No higher high. So we still didn't even crack 481, which was the yesterday's session high. So yeah, don't really agree with this value high rejection here. I think it's against the higher time frame context, but it's an equity index, so it might just kind of keep going up. That's why we wait, because right now there's conflicting information here, and I'm not happy. Intraday is saying rejection of London value high. Higher time frames usually always win, so we have an overhead supply there. Did we drop down far enough to warrant another leg up? So I'm gonna wait. It's a combine, but I'm still gonna wait. Hey, Coach Jay is awake. Good to see you, Jay. Good morning. Dat Wolf is asking me, is my sister also with Topstep? No, she's not a trader. She has her own business. She has 4 shops, I think. And she likes to do like crocheted animals and stuff. So she's very arty, crafty and sort of thing. I used to be very musical, and she's kind of both. She was always an amazing painter, an amazing sculptor. Like whatever she takes into her hands, it just becomes art. But yeah, she does have 4 shops. So not just selling art, but also selling like things like stationery and school books and stuff. So it's a whole thing. But no, she doesn't trade. She's just here to support me, which is very nice. Yeah, so we're just now waiting to see whether they actually want to get out of this whole area and actually push higher. In which case, so what do I want to see? I want to see a push into a new higher high that holds above this entire structure. Then we may have a good reason to go long. Here, I would be like front running it. And honestly, in July, I just don't, at this time of day, I just don't know whether we have enough juice to actually push confidently with me kind of running into, or the price, not me, but the price running into supplies that we created both late yesterday and never managed to break during Asia. So yeah, I just want to clear all of this out, and then we might push into that supply and go, okay, well, the buyers are here. I usually get involved in those kind of moves fairly late because I want them to be trending already, and then it doesn't really matter when you go in because it's a momentum type trade. Obviously you have to be a little bit careful, but generally you want to see the push immediately after you clear certain problematic areas. And right now we haven't cleared them. Like right now this could all just go to another sort of 45 minutes and do the my 11 o'clock reversal, and then just snowball from there. That's kind of what they did yesterday around the CPI. So if you look, they pushed it up, and then somebody pushed it off a cliff. Oh no. And then it didn't really come back until the euro closed, really. So this was euro closed, and they whipped it down even further and then massively reversed. I mean, whoever survived that, well done. I was just watching it with like some popcorn and stuff. I think I was in on copper. Yeah, I was in on copper. Now, obviously, this was the Trump comment saying that he's going to fire Powell. So gold went like berserk. And equities sort of tried to go higher, and then I was like, well, gold is going higher, equities are going to smash down. But I was just watching it with interest. Wasn't in that. Copper then reversed yesterday. And this was the resulting move. I was actually in on that. That was a pretty sweet trade. Took it up to, I think, 553 something. So when it started to whip down, what's up, Crates? You want to go outside? No. Yes? Okay, let me just let one of the dogs out, because he's probably getting a bit hot in here, and there's a lot of dogs in here. So give me a couple seconds. Right, we're back. After a while, the lights and the computers in this room start to get a bit toasty. And some of the dogs are like, let me out. I can't breathe. Coach Jay, are you looking at anything this morning if you're still with us? Anything catching your eye? Because I'm frankly struggling to find anything to trade here. So I'm just like chatting a whole loads of nonsense. Atelier is asking me, good morning, Deeyana, how do you get bid and ask volume across 10 handles on the Dow? So that's level 2 data. Now, for some of the products that I trade, they're not like your mainstream products, so you will only get 10. But you do have to have level 2 data for that particular exchange. Now, for me, my live account costs me a fair amount of money in exchange data fees. So I have COMEX, NYMEX, and CBOT because of the YM. So I want to have those 3. I don't have CME on my live. So I don't have ES and Q because I don't trade them often enough. So it's like, nah, whatever. If we ever get Eurex, I'm definitely getting Eurex. So, fingers crossed. But yeah, you have to go into billing. And then it's, I don't know what it is. I don't look at all the prices. I think it was like $39 per month. And just beware that that kind of a level 2 data. Oh no, am I confusing that with market data? Because market data goes on every first. So therefore, if you kind of sign up halfway through the month, they will still charge you again on the first. Bruno, correct me if I am wrong, but yeah, is the level 2 data the same thing? Does it get renewed on the first, or does it get renewed on whenever you sign up for it? Because I can't remember, honestly, and I don't really care. So, so yeah. It's like it's such a small charge depending on in relation to all the other stuff that I have to have as a business expense. So yeah. So Coach Jay is saying longs look decent on equities. I mean, yeah, NQ looks best out of all of them, to be honest. It's got a decent level that it's bouncing from, but I just don't know, this time of the day, breakout trades, which this would need, I'm uncomfortable, but maybe short CL. Short CL, I have a 67 level that I would like to see tagged before I go short. Right now we have an HVL here around here, but I could get behind a CL short. Just want to see that gamma wall get tagged first. It got tagged once, but I would like that would be like the ideal spot for me for the shorts on crude oil. How much do you have to pay for the indices and commodities when live? So the exchange data fees are usually around $124 per exchange. Some of them might be a little bit more, some of them might be a little bit less, but generally, like, my fees are somewhere around sort of $450 just for the data. So yeah. Coach Jay is agreeing, time of day makes it hard. Yeah. Are you traveling somewhere? I see people mentioning the flight and stuff. Yesterday I passed out. Like, I wanted to like watch the stream, but I was so tired. So I'm still like trying to recover from my travel last week or over the weekend, and only today I kind of feel like I've slept enough. So where are you going? Katarzyna Novak says, hi, if you were a contrarian, by the way, I am a contrarian, just want to put that out there, what instruments would you want to trade excuse me, which ones have the best chance of reversing? Well, the double-sided instruments that where you get opportunities on both sides are typically energies markets. So things like crude oil, especially if you're fishing for short. So you wait for a long, then a failure around a particular level, and then it's got a short bias. So I quite like doing that. Natural gas on some days can be a double-sided instrument, good for like mean reversions too. You have to take care of the time of day when you're doing that. But generally, if you're looking for reversals, I would argue that the best reversals would be sort of 90 minutes before the euro close and after euro close. So basically anything from 9 a.m. Central over in Europe, that will be, okay, if I'm in the UK, then that's like after 3 p.m. all the way up to like 4:40 p.m. And if you're in Central European time, that will be after your 4 o'clock and then all the way up to like 5:50. That's the time of day when you get the most statistical probability of a reversal. And that kind of goes for everything. I've noticed that behavior across the board. London is tricky because London doesn't have those sort of things. Like the reason why it happens is because we also have something called the option expiry every single day in Forex, which sort of has like a knock-on effect on a whole bunch of stuff. So equities and let's say Japanese yen, they can have a connection on some days, but then crude oil and Canadian dollar have a huge connection, and then gold and Australian dollar have a huge connection because of the role that those countries play in the exports of those commodities. So, you know, if you're going to look for mean reversions, I mean, equities are probably not your jam then. But yeah, look at gold, look at platinum is not really that great for mean reversions, but gold right now, copper as well, because we are in that range bound situation, so it can lead to like a lot of reversals. Look at crude oil, look at gasoline futures, RBOB, look at natural gas. All of those can bring very, very nice reversals. Natural gas yesterday did a pretty decent failed auction, a little bit later than I expected it to. Whoops, no, that's the interval. No, that's another wrong thing. One day I will get this early in the morning. Yeah, so yesterday, here we go. So we had a bit of a non-committal movement up, and then guess what? Euro close. And then look at this. This was the initial balance, this red box. And it just goes bleed, 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 rotation, rotation, rotation. Finishes it up. This is like 2 hours. You could have held that nicely. I was actually on a long here. Why? Because into the NYMEX close, which is like 7:30 my time. And Katarzyna, if you are in Central Europe, you will probably be, that would probably be 8:30 p.m. for you. But like half an hour before then, even an hour before then, there's signs of reversals. So I like to snipe those end of day fades. That's actually the type of a trade, this one, that usually saves my day. And that's always been the case. So if I can like just stay away from most of the things and just trade the settlement fades, which I used to do, like, no lie, before I traded like copper and gold and stuff, I would just literally wait for crude oil to get to the end and I would just snipe it. When my skills grew and when I was able to get better at reading MGI, I can find more trades in a day, but again, every time I go over like 5 or 7 trades across a few instruments, I always feel like I've overtraded. It's like, oh, that wasn't necessary. Oh, that wasn't. So I really love the fact that they brought contract limits. I'm looking for trade limits as well, and then I'll be complete. And then Eurex, and you know, I can die happy, basically. That's all I want to see. So Coach Jay is going to Jamaica. Right. Awesome, man. Like, have fun. Like I said, I just had a few days in Belgrade. Not quite Jamaica. Not quite Jamaica. But, you know, and the weather wasn't that great. Usually it's better. I have frogs in my throat again. Snippo, yes, thank you. I just did that. You do not need to remind me to have water, but water is not really helping either. Because you know when you wake up in the morning, you generally just have this clear out that happens, and it's just so sexy. It's like cough like an old woman. So, Coach Jay, how long is the flight to Jamaica? Because obviously, for me, it's very, very far away. But you're in New York, right? How long does it take? Is it like a long flight or? C1 says, how do you figure out when settlement is for various instruments? Is it the end of the session? No. So the end of the session is equities. That's it. That's settlement. And actually, settlement, if you look into it closely, they actually use settlement would be 15 minutes after the electronic close, and then they use VWAP for equities, for certain equities. I think ES and NQ have that kind of settlement, and then YM is just the end of the session. However, if you have a different exchange, that used to run on like an open outcry hours. And back in the day, once the settlement was over, you couldn't open or close new positions anymore, or close old ones, open new ones. That was like no trading after hours. That's it. Open outcry, we're done. That was it. And then with the advent of the electronic trading, they started to extend the hours. So now we have this weird thing that's still settlements, and then volume can drop off. I've noticed something recently, though. As soon as the settlement goes through, sometimes they continue the moves or they start the fade. Weird, right? But it's just market mechanics, right? And for COMEX actually, if I'm looking at my time, typically settles at 6:30 p.m. That's 12:30 Central. And then NYMEX will settle an hour later. So my time is 7:30 p.m. and it's 1:30 Central. So yeah. You can still open trades after that, but on most days it's going to be like watching paint dry. So not, look at the volume. If it massively drops off, then it's like, oh, snooze. Can't be bothered. So yeah. 3 hours. That's not too bad. That's kind of the same, like from London Heathrow to Belgrade, because that's like 2 hours 50 is when you get a direct flight. Of course, I couldn't get a direct flight, so I had to go via Munich and then via Frankfurt, which is massive. I was walking for like 45 minutes in between the flights. I was like, what is this? And I know that Frankfurt is big, but it's in season, so all of the seats were like just totally taken. And I only fly business because I can't be bothered with economy class. I think it takes too long, and fast track at security, that's worth its weight in gold for me. However, walking through Frankfurt airport, I'm going to try and avoid that in the future. It totally like just stopped all of my energy. I just couldn't. Do I see gold fading? No, not yet. This is all non-committal, lots of selling wicks. Can you go through gold? Well, we went through gold. There's some demand lower down at 33.28, and I would say 33.25, 33.20 maybe. That would be the put support area. If we get down to that zone of about whatever that is, like 30 to 50 ticks, I will be looking for some sort of a fade. But the time of day has to be right. This is not right. London fades at this time of the day, kind of unlikely. They usually kind of just carry on, and then you get to that post NY cut when you have the forex option expiry. That's 9 a.m. Central, post 9 a.m. Central, or if you're over in England, post 3 p.m. UK time, which is British summertime at the moment. Then you can look for high probability reverses all the way up to the euro close. So, that's the time of day, probabilistically, when you will see most reversals. Otherwise, it's like anyone's guess where it's going to go. But just by looking at like price action and stuff, I mean, I can have a look at Bookmap, what they're doing, just to get a bit more idea. I have a random like demo account connected there just for data purposes. Yeah, there's some sellers. So here's what Bookmap looks like. So some sellers are stepping in. There's obviously this is a visual representation of the dome. Whenever I see just one price with more contracts, that usually gets stop hunted. In order for the order block on Bookmap to stay, I find that it needs 2 or 3 prices with equal amount of thickness, if that makes sense. So once you see something that markedly is different in volume and it's across 2 or 3 prices, that tends to be the stopping point, especially for commodities. But yeah, I just don't see any commitment to the long side here. So yeah, 33.34 is roughly where we're at now. And then we have some interest below. This is a swing low on this tiny little time frame. And then if we go all the way back down, yeah, there's interest lower down. You know, I wouldn't, yeah, I would not be fading this right now. Sorry. If anything, I would be looking for more shorts in gold. Why I'm sitting at that supply that they tested before. Let's go back to that. Okay. I'll get there someday. Now, here's the thing. We are now testing this twice, very quickly. Quick return into the supply can be a sign of impending breakout. I suppose because this is a combine, can maybe try it, but I'm just gonna run through some of these lower time frames to see what the supplies look like. Yeah, it's so looking messy. God, it's looking messy. Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with this. And then usually if they're going to break it out, you get a ton of entries. They kind of just pile in, and then everybody who was on the other side goes, whoop, we're going to move out of the way. Crap. It's a lot of volume. But now I'm not really seeing that. This is all just like small players. Look at that. Like 1, 2. Like, is there anyone playing more than 1 YM? Like, where are you? And they're like, we're asleep. So yeah. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm really trying. There is no trade. How do I get that Bookmap program? Is there a cost for that? Guys, there's a cost for everything in this game. This is a financial world. Everybody will try and charge you for everything. Yes, there's a cost for Bookmap. There's a cost for some of the add-ons as well. You know, if... I think that just the Bookmap cost itself. So what I do to minimize that cost somewhat, I don't actually buy data from Bookmap. I buy the license, which is I think it's $89 per month. And then I connect it to one of the cheapo prop firm accounts via TraderRate. So I know that Topstep is not supporting TraderRate, but I find it very easy to connect it. I tried doing it via their own platform, and then they want like literally an arm and a leg in data fees, and I was like, yeah, that ain't happening, because you know I already pay for data across like 3 different platforms, and when I got Bookmap a few years ago, I was like, I'm not gonna increase my business costs to like, you know, $2,000 a month across many platforms just to run data fees everywhere. So the like I said, the workaround was to connect it to one of the prop accounts, and then you have your data for cheap, right? Or cheaper, because obviously you would still pay for level 2 data. But to me, it ends up cheaper than whatever Bookmap is charging. So, yeah, hope that helps. But it's not cheap, right? Every time you sign up for another platform, like, look, if you've not taken at least like 3 payouts of like 3 to 5K this year, just don't spend more money until you get to a point where you can pull some money out. So, you know, if you start pulling like anything over, you know, 10, 15,000 a year, then you can start spending more, you know. But until you get to that point, it's like spending more on trading stuff. It's like pointless. Just, you know, you need to keep, I found that traders, we're supposed to be risk managers, and yet most of the traders that I see, they're horrendous with managing their own personal finances. It's like, have a budget for the combines. No, they don't have a budget. They're just like, well, I'm just going to keep buying combines as I'm failing them. Like, okay. And some people are like, well, I've spent 60 grand on what are you doing spending 60 grand on combines? Like, over what period of time? And they're like, well, just since last year. You spent 60K on something. It's like, why? Like, I hope you have the 60K. Otherwise, it's like a ludicrous amount of money to throw into something that you're not deriving some cash out of, right? I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but be careful with your personal finances, guys and girls. King Caesar, close my lungs, going to bed. See you in a few hours. Yep, sleep well, mate. Good to see you. Daniel says, drink some squeezed lemon juice, clears everything. I cannot. I actually had problems with ulcers on my stomach, so if you drink lemon juice, that burns, and then I have to take a pill. I have to take something called omeprazole to get rid of the juice. So yeah, lemon juice, ugh. I can't even do oranges. I actually react to oranges too. So that's a fun fact. Okay, so yeah, pretty boring session for now. Oh, and also, Siwa, to finish your question, if you look up settlement on CME website in like the specs, that's when you will be able to see the times, like dedicated times. I think they call it, is it TAS or something like that. They have like a they have a weird name, like they should just call it like settlement, but they're like, eh. Yeah, so TAS stands for Trading at Settlement. So if you go to CME, like let's say we want to go to CME HG. And then if you go to, is it this? No, it's specs, I think. Specs. TAS, here we go. So it tells you that actually copper actually settles at noon central, right? Noon central. That is is it noon central? Yeah, so that's 6 p.m. my time. TAS, time at settlement. That's what you want. I thought it settled at the same time. See, this is how you cut a slip. I thought it settled at the same time as gold, but it sounds like it settles earlier. Might be the reason why I was seeing like craziness just before, just before 6 p.m. Because, you know, you're thinking, metal, that's going to close the same as gold. No, it's not. It closes earlier. Why? Nobody knows. But here's the thing. COMEX is one thing, but you have the LME close as well, London Metal Exchange. And I've noticed copper goes a bit bonkers in and around, that is 4:50 my time, or 4:40 my time. That's like 10 minutes after the euro close. That's when it goes nuts. JDVL, just logged in. How's the copper analysis? At the moment, nothing. I don't like any of the movements. Tried a YM short. Now I'm waiting to see whether they break out or not. But yeah, I don't like the thinness of copper. 1, nothing, 3, 3. I mean, oodles of liquidity there, guys. So yeah, I'm not that happy trading in this time of day, which is why I'm going to combine. So, and even then, I've been trying to get a setup, and nothing's really screaming out at me. Nothing. Everything's super slow. Do we have any releases? Is anyone talking today? Like, so we can push things along. I mean, even the Eurozone, like we had Eurozone numbers, CPI, push the copper up a little bit and then nothing. 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 Is this a news? Trump rejected a military plan for more comprehensive strikes on Iran's nuclear program that would have lasted weeks. Not marked in red, so probably not that important. What do we have today? We have retail sales, core retail sales, that's at 130, and then not much. Kugler is speaking. And then later on, Daly and Cook are also speaking. Yeah. Oh, yeah, let me remind you guys, we have natural gas storage today. Same time as usually the crude oil, but it's on Thursdays. So don't forget that if you're going to get involved in natural gas trading today. Just don't trade straight into the report. So 3:30 p.m. That is 10:30 Central, I think. No, 9:30 Central. 9:30 Central. Man, this YM is still looking short to me though. It's like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? What's the time? So let's wait for 2 minutes, and then if we manage to go into a bearish engulfing and we end up below settlement, I might try a little short again. Because we've come up against this supply, and we're just not able to go above it. So to me, that's a fade. But yeah, I still need at least a bearish engulfing somewhere. More committal. So 5-minute chart already did it. But because settlement is here, it can just bounce away from settlement. So I want to see it bleed through settlement as well. D, what are you thinking of platinum? Nothing. It's coming up against the gamma wall at 1440. The gamma wall is moved up 40 points. And I'm long on platinum, so I would like to get a decent pullback and then try to look for longs. I'm not interested in shorting platinum because it's looking really bullish on large time frames. At least it was when I looked at it last. So weekly. Every time it created a downward move, then they pulled it back up. By the end of the week, it would end up. So to me, this is like on the monthly chart. That's a breakout, you know. So from that bird's eye view, I am not really happy with it. On the daily chart, it's been so quiet. Inside bars, inside bars, inside bars. Again, haphazardly going higher, but with a lot of drama and consolidations. Ick factor on the daily. Get me a bucket. Intraday, so 4 hour, we're coming to intraday time frames, and yes, 4 hours is intraday. It's like a large time frame intraday. Still at VWAP. It's like, yes, we have not moved away from VWAP. 1 hour chart. Again, just middle of the middle, high, low, VWAP, point of control. Not a good area. We want asymmetrical trading opportunities or really good breakouts that glue themselves away from VWAP, J style. We don't want to try and you know, run trades that are in the middle of the middle, and then you're like, oh, but I wanted to draw down. Why? Yeah, because it's like VWAP is flat as a pancake, flatter than Kate Moss's chest, however you want to put it. It's, you know, we want edges of the distribution curves, then smash back into it, or break out into the, you know, second standard deviation on a volatility band with commitment, gap fills. This one is neither, so I'm thinking platinum, leave the F alone for now. Not seeing anything there, so yeah. I think the best okay, this is bouncing from settlement, isn't it? That's not a committed anything. All right, so with that in mind, I'm gonna do, like, look, I would never do this in my live because it's a punt based on the fact that we didn't go below settlement, and then the very next candle kind of pushed higher. So it's an equity index YM. So let's try a long, again, not a high probability setup. I'm gonna use a pretty wide stop, so I'm going to use a 45 tick stop here, and then I'm going to use a 100 tick target. Again, orientation, if we go below settlement and close below settlement, that'll be my early exit if I have time. Until then, we're above settlement and keep coming back to this supply. So I'm going to stare at Bookmap for a while. Is the settlement time? Daniel says, Deeyana, loved your session with Jerome the other day. Always top notch from you guys. Appreciate the time you guys put into giving us the best. Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do in life unless help other people, right? You get to a point where you stop chasing things and then you're like, actually, a lot of people are struggling with this. That was the idea behind Neuro Wednesdays. Constantly same problems, you know, I keep blowing up combines, I keep doing this, I keep getting into revenge trading. So it's like, well, let's come up with something that's going to help people replace those bad habits, put them onto the introspective side. Okay, so this is now going below settlement. Okay, and I'm going to do short now. Where's my grasshopper hat now? Should we get the grasshopper hat out? Back to the shorts. So let's get a grasshopper hat. Me and my hat hair. There we go. Flipping and flopping around the same level because London is boring. Hold on, let me see what this looks like. My hair probably looks absolutely crazy now. How to read a ladder. You look for imbalances. Same way you would, similar way reading a chart. So I'll explain it in a minute. So here we go. We got the grasshopper hat. Flip and flop. So is that going to be something to do? So every time you flip and flop in directions, you have to wear a grasshopper hat. Let's come down again. There we go. My antennae are pretty visible. Bit of fun for the Thursday. Okay, how to read a ladder. I need some good examples and this ain't it. So let me try and find one that looks decent. What's GC doing? No. I don't know whether I'm going to have NQ here because I think they connect the combines to whatever, to whatever thing. So they don't give me the full data. So I'm going to have to think, do I have anything? Oh, CL. Okay, let's have a look. All right, so CL is one of those products that is widely traded. So it's got a ton of contracts available, up and down. Let me get the hair out of my face. All right. So you see all of these prices. What you're looking for is sticky-outy prices. Now, in crude oil specifically, when you have about anything about 50, 60, 100 contracts, that becomes relevant. And when it's just one singular price, if you kind of scan, here's one. So 57 at 66.78. Then there's another one. They disappeared now. I thought I saw a bigger one. And then to the downside, 60, pretty sizable, 65.30 price. 42, it can be a stopping point, but considering that we're pretty equal, 36.19, 15.35, I would not be thinking that that's relevant enough. So if you have an extended move to the liquidity point and the liquidity price, so let's say we go all the way up and then we hit, and of course this is dynamic, we hit this 57 lot dude sitting there at 66.78. If it's just one price, it needs to have more contracts than that. But if you suddenly start seeing that they are building more contracts, so suddenly instead of 6 and 16, you start seeing 43 and 53, while this 57 still is floating between 40 and 50 and 60. That tends to be a stopping point. So anything that is 2 or 3 prices wide with significant amount of contracts, it's kind of like looking at my boxes of supply and demand. It's literally the same thing, but only read on an intraday level. I like to combine that with the options prices and or my quantitative extremes. So ADR low, ADR high, ASR low for the session specific levels. And also sometimes value areas. But it's not odd to have these sorts of price action dynamics come in as the market is developing. That's called the market generated information, MGI. And then you have to be very objective. So it's like, oh yeah, we dropped. Oh, I'm seeing 2 order blocks building with like 40 units per price, and they're very close together. That's usually a bad sign for further movement in crude oil specifically, right? Because I've seen that so many times, and natural gas. So both of them work in a similar way. It's an energy market. Now, gold is a lot more speculative, a lot more slippery. So when you see, even a couple of prices with quite a lot of contracts there, it's going to be a super thick order. Like it's going to have like 150, 200 lots to actually put a stop to the move. If it's anything less than that, they're just going to use it as a liquidity grab, and then very frequently they will smash through them and turn around. So every product has their quirks, unfortunately. So you have to live to learn and breathe. The reason why I know a lot about my energies and metals markets is because I've been staring at them day in, day out, and writing journals about what has happened objectively. What was the price doing? What kind of a playbook I witnessed in real time? Was it obvious in real time? Was it not obvious? And I've been doing that for 13 years. So, but I've done it for COMEX and NYMEX time. I've really not done that for the London, like I'll be totally frank with you. I've done it on DAX, but I don't have DAX. So now I'm like kind of banking on stuff that I know sort of works for London, but London is so inconsistent with these markets that we currently have, because it's effectively an out of hours market, so anything can happen. And in fact, Asia tends to trend more than this first part of London. It sucks, but I was supposed to trade DAX in these sessions, and then we never got it. So now I'm like trying to squeeze blood out of a stone to make something work. It's easier when it's like April, May, March, because copper moves. There's a lot of movement. But now it's just not like there's no committed movement from the levels that I was looking at. So So I have to wait for the session where I know there will be more movement. And, you know, I don't like sitting in trades for 2 hours that do absolutely nothing. If I'm going to sit in a trade for 2 to 3 hours, I want it to progress in a particular direction. If it doesn't, what's the point? I'm just wasting my time, right? Alec has a good question. Good morning, Coach D. Why is it so hard emotionally to trade in 20 plus days win streak? Should one just let the red day be? I feel like it is not about profit or process, but making it green. You know what? I'm not really in favor of winning streaks like that. I think that the winning streak does not make you into a good trader. Why? Because some people are so obsessed with making it green, and then they end up trading just for the green. And then it's like, oh my God, it can't be red. Even if I make $20. And then they end up having like $20 one day, maybe 100 the next day, 80 the next day. It's like, yeah, it's a green streak, but is it actually doing anything for your psychology? Because look, a red day, if it's well managed and not massively oversized, that's not a bad thing. That means you tried a couple of setups, they didn't work out, and you walked away with a controlled loss. Like, I see no problem with that. I don't know why we've gone to like, and look, I've had winning streaks. You know, that's how I ended up in the live account. So, but I don't get obsessed with it. I don't know why people are so bothered. Like, as long as your overall approach is mathematically sound, and you can bank more than whatever the losses were, like, why do you care about having a red day? So is it maybe something connected to your ego? It's certainly not connected to, you know, what's necessary to be a successful trader, because you will have red days. But if you've gone on a 20-day streak, now you start being afraid of the red day. So you yourself need to figure out, what are you afraid of? Put it on a piece of paper. What will happen if I have a red day? And if it's controlled, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. I promise you. It's like, if it's a controlled loss, you stop. Just like, you know, go about your day. Trading is not everything, man. Like, go live your life. Touch some grass. If you've got dogs or a dog or a cat, go spend time with them. If you got kids, go do something with your kids. If you don't have either of those, go do like a hobby, you know. Learn how to cook or paint. Sign up for a cooking class. Go see some people, you know. We should have lives outside of trading, you know. Winning streaks, you're connecting it. I think the problem is you're connecting it too much to your self-worth. I stopped doing that like in third year into my trading, and this is like 18 years now. So the more you connect your P&L to your self-worth, the more you will care about winning streaks and the red day. It's like, it's really okay. Like, if you have a red day, it's okay. You've had 20 days of the win streak. Brilliant. Put that into your achievements, but don't let it define you as a person or a trader. Does that make sense? Does that help you? Because I hope it does. But, you know, winning streaks, I came from swing trading. I was doing like 2 trades every 2 weeks sort of thing, you know. Try a couple of times, then get on the one that works, and then ride it for like anywhere from like 2 weeks up to 2 months sometimes. So for me, concept of winning streaks, it never even entered my mind. And even when I started intraday trading, I didn't care whether, you know, I was green all week. What I wanted to see is how I'm performing over a longer period of time. And 20 days is 1 month, right? For me, 3 to 6 months of returns is what matters, because I still have that swing trader mentality where, am I profitable over a 3-month period? And if not, what have I done this time? And it's always going to be either us or the changes in market volatility. If not, what's changed? So that's how I look at it. I don't get obsessed with it. I couldn't care less about the winning streaks, to be honest. And I definitely don't connect my P&L to any sort of self-worth. Life gets so much easier when you stop doing that. So Alec, yeah. It's more like getting Topstep board for streak and a bit Delash. Yeah, exactly. So Delash was on that bloody board for what, nearly 100 days? Did he make any money? Like maybe but even in India, I can't reimagine that that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but making like $3 to $7 a day. Yeah, you're green every day. Is that helping your actual wealth or anything in your life? It's like, I don't know. For those of us in the Western countries, that's like 100 days of a wasted time. For me, the way I look at it. I mean, all respect to him, but, you know, if I'm not making at least 200-300 a day, and, you know, if I'm on a larger account, really that needs to be between 600 and 2.5 grand, then what am I doing? It's just wasting time. So winning streaks, they do nothing, right? Trying not to have red losing streaks for too long. You know, if you're red for like 5 days, 10 days, something needs to change. But if you're reasonably green for 20 days, great. Say, okay, that happened. But don't connect your self-worth with it. It's really, you know, it's not where you want to be. It really isn't. Yeah, trading nickels. I think so. Yeah, Mr. missed $3 to $7. They were in a third world country, and they were emotionally tripped on more. Yeah, emotionally. That's exactly the way to put it. Emotionally tripped on more. So it has nothing to do with process over profits. It has nothing to do with, you know, yes, process over profits. But if you're not making any profit, your process sucks. There's no two ways about it, man. Yeah. Yeah, Trading Nickel says to do that daily is still a skill, just not a super valuable. You know where I was worried about Dilesh? Because JD was looking at his stats. He was actually in a hole by like -200-300 on some of those days, and then managed to claw it back to like $7 or $10. To me, the negative risk reward of being -200 on the day and then +7 and then doing your winning streak, is that what we want? So to put that in larger perspective, let's say that you have a bigger account. So you are risking effectively 2,000. You're putting yourself in a hole by $2,000 to make 70. I don't know, man. I want my results to be on the other side. Like if I'm in a hole, 2 grand, I'm expecting at least 2 grand, not $70. Like, really? I don't know. Maybe different people think differently, but we at the end of the day, we are here to try and make some money. You know, otherwise this is such a difficult job to do that. It's like, why would you spend like blood, sweat, and tears and then not have any profits? Anyways, I'm going to leave you at that for today. I'm going to leave this combine trade running because I do think that we've rejected that high again. We need to crack this London value high for any significant move down. Maybe something is going to push it. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to let this run. So do or die, stop loss or take profit. Do not want to overmanage it. Only looking for 100 ticks. So if that gets there, again, positive risk reward. So I will be up some $250. And just FYI, started this, a few days ago, just because it's summertime. Doing okay. Yesterday 251. All for the London. Those 3 trades that I've done for the Euro trade, that was it. So yeah. So we'll see. Power risk reward, letting the math do its thing in my favor. Just the one lot. Nothing too bad. And then if it's a red day, it's a red day. Nobody cares. All right, you're gonna see me on Lunchbox trading later on today with Marie. Might wear a grasshopper hat again, but I'm not trading my live account until 3:30 p.m. my time, maybe even later. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might not trade my live at all because it's summertime, and if everything still sucks, I'll just stay out. That's all for me for today. My name is Marcus Stalker Dean. This was the Euro Trade on Topstep TV. I will see you a little bit later. Take care.